It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Steven Roth, who grew up as a first-generation American in New Haven, Connecticut, watching his Hungarian Holocaust survival family build businesses and become successful because of opportunity and hard work. He graduated Columbia University with a BS in psychology and the University of Pennsylvania School of Dental Medicine in 1985. After a one-year residency, Dr. Roth jumped around working as an associate with several dentists before becoming an associate and then a partner on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. He has 3 children, loves golf, working out and yoga, and listening to all kinds of podcasts. Dr. Roth learned how to do high-quality operative and prosthetic dentistry by co-treating patients for 2 years with a senior dentist, which allowed him to become a confident practitioner that was not afraid to treat most dental problems. Dr. Roth is proud to say he has restored the mouths of 2 Oscar winners, several famous pro athletes, and many other wonderful and interesting people. Dr. Steve, as his friends call him, went through all of the Dawson Center, Frank Spear curriculum multiple times. He also studied with the Aesthetic Advantage, Larry Rosenthal aesthetic courses, Dr. Bill Strupp, and numerous other courses. He tries to do at least 100 hours of CE every year and became a faculty member at Spear Education. Dr. Roth has worked to bring Mint Smile toothpaste to market and is currently helping build Bridge Solutions, Green Sky Patient Financing as the best possible solution for all patients. Man, thank you so much, Steve, for coming on the show today.
Great to be here. Great to be here. I'm a big fan of your podcast.
Is that right? Well, my podcasts are only a success because I'm able to get guys like you to come on the show.
Yeah, and I think what's really cool is you always talk about how I love all the young guys that go on the podcast. The old dentists don't go. I can tell you about 5 of my friends who are all over 50 who love podcasts because we commute and we sit in the car and we listen.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be more fun when they get driverless cars. I'm down here in Phoenix, and Google, which is owned by Alphabet, owns Waymo. And they did their 2-year pilot study in Phoenix. So I've been seeing these driverless cars for 2 years. And they finished the study, and it was so positive that Google ordered 60,000 more of those cars. So I mean, my grandchildren probably won't even know what it's like to sit behind a steering wheel. They'll just be in the back seat on their smartphone, surfing, listening to podcasts and doing their email and all that kind of stuff. So my first question to you is, I hear this all the time. New York has now, what, 6 dental schools?
Yeah, 6 dental schools.
Can some kid coming out of dental school grow up to be just like you someday, or is it a whole new world?
You know, that's a great question. And the answer, I think, lies in what do you really want to do? If you're passionate about what you want to do, you'll find the right road. I know you love to talk about dentists should go to cities and towns outside of the beaten path, and it's an easier road, and it probably is. But, you know, the generation of dentists that's in New York City now are going to retire at some point, and there's 8 million people that need a dentist. So, you know, I don't think it's hard to do what I'm doing. I think you have to withstand the DSOs, and, you know, you buy a practice. There's so many practices for sale in New York right now. It's unbelievable. And a lot of those practices are great fee-for-service practices. And if that's what you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah. And when I talk to all the big banking people, they have a 0.4% default rate. Yet these kids come out of school and you'll see them 5 years out of school and they've had 6 different dentist associate jobs. And it's like, why don't they just buy? And then they always tell me, well, it's different now. And it's like, God, I got out of school May 11 and 133 days later, September 21st, which was just 3 days ago, was my 31-year anniversary. I mean, I had my own shop open up in 133 days. Why do they just keep going from associate job to associate job to associate job in search of the unicorn dental practice?
So I think one of the great things about you and your podcast is you give great advice. And I think most young dentists really need to find somebody who gives them great advice. And I think that, you know, they're millennials, obviously, they're a different generation. But when you talk to the really successful dentists, and you said this a million times, find the most successful dentist in your town and talk to them about how they did it, you'll get the right advice. I think if you get all your advice from your colleagues who are the same age as you, yes, you may end up running around and being an associate forever. But at the end of the day, one of the greatest things about being a dentist is owning your own practice and living the American dream.
Yeah, it's totally owning your own business. I don't think the mindset of someone who goes to 8 to 10 years of college is the employee mindset. I mean, I just think I think dentists, physicians, and lawyers are like herding cats. I mean, there's nothing you could do as a senior doctor to please some 25-year-old bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid who sees the whole world differently, and it just is what it is, man. They should be their own boss.
When I was an associate with my partner, who we practiced together for 25 years, the first thing he did was he said, look, he's like, you're not going to feel great going in with a patient. He goes, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get the patient numb. You're going to prep the teeth. I'll come in and pack the cord. You'll take the impressions and make the temporaries, and you're going to learn how to do everything and get to know every patient. And the patient won't be scared because they'll think that I'm doing everything, even though I'm not. And that's how I learned how to be a dentist. And I think there's not enough of that these days. I think dentists will, throw a young associate in a room and say, here, go do the molar endo. And the dentist doesn't know how to do the molar endo. That's one of the hardest things to learn. You have to find somebody who's willing to give you their time and teach you. And I think, I was very lucky that I had that. And at the time, I didn't really love it because I felt like I could do anything. What do I need this guy for? But it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
So, what is your bread and butter dentistry? What do you mostly like to do?
So today, I've gone all digital, which I love. I don't make the crowns in the office. I use trios and, get my models 3D printed in the lab. And the entire practice is pretty much all adult prosthetics and cosmetics. So I spend all of my time doing crown and bridge, veneers, implants. I employ a periodontist in the office who places all the implants and does all the perio surgery. And I try to practice very much like I learned from Dawson, Strupp, and Spear. And I don't see children. I don't really have anybody in the practice under the age of 18. And that's how I like spending my time. I love being creative and doing smiles. It's a lot of fun. And I love how you talk about on your podcast, why is it that some dentists are always doing a big case on a Friday and some dentists are not? And I learned a long time ago that if you don't present it, you don't get to do it. So I try to present ideal dentistry to every single patient that walks in the door. They don't all say yes, but a lot of them do.
So why do you think you're afraid? I mean, I wouldn't want to go to a doctor who said, I can't tell Howard he's got lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, and erectile dysfunction all at the same time. So I'm just gonna tell him about his pancreas. I mean, why are they afraid to just present complete dentistry, especially when these Americans, they buy 13 new cars between ages 16 and 76. And every time they buy a new car, they're so happy and ecstatic and they love it and they love their commute. Why are they afraid to have someone just do the same thing and just redo their whole mouth all at once?
Well, I think that they're not taught to be proud of what they do, and they should be. And I think that you have to hang around the dentists and the teachers that aren't afraid to tell patients what's going on. I think dental school education is very basic, and once you get out, that's when you learn how to do what you do. And if you're not around the right people, you're not going to learn how to do the right things. And, I love what Spear says. He always talks about how if you go into Jiffy Lube, they give you a checklist and tell you every single thing that's wrong with your car and ask you if you want to fix it. You go to the doctor, like you said, they don't tell you the results of your blood test, but not your analysis. They tell you everything. They don't pick and choose. And I tell patients right up front, I ask permission, is it okay if I tell you every single thing that I see wrong going on in your mouth? And they all say yes. I've never had anybody say no. And it's just the fear of rejection, I believe, that lets dentists kind of go down the wrong road. You have to be proud of what you do. You have to tell people what's wrong. And don't be afraid. People are going to say, please fix it.
So what would you tell the dentist who, I mean, if I had $1 for every time a dentist told me this, I mean, well, I just don't like to sell dentistry. I'm not a used car salesman. I don't like selling dentistry. But what do you say to that guy?
I say you need to rethink what you're doing and go into therapy. Is what I think. I think it's fear, and we all know what does fear stand for? False evidence appearing real. Okay, fear is what makes you say that. It's fear of rejection. I think the fear of rejection is what is behind a lot of the problems that dentists have, the high divorce rates, the addictions. It's fear of being rejected. And guess what? The more you do it, the less fearful you are. And the best way to do it is to start from the very beginning, doing comprehensive, great exams. There's great places to learn how to do it. You can go to the Pankey Institute. You can take courses on Dental Town. You can go to Spear. You can go to Dawson. You can go to a lot of places to learn how to do a detailed exam. And once you do a detailed exam, patients sit up in the chair and say, nobody's ever done that oral cancer screening exam on me like that. Wow. And deep down, they're thinking, I trust this dentist. I trust her. I trust him. And when they see the effort that you put into taking photos and presenting dentistry and explaining everything to them with all the technology we have today, most people trust you and say yes. It may not be today, maybe a little bit later, but they trust you and they're going to stay with you.
Okay, well, let's talk about technology because I know what I get all the emails, so I know what she's going to say. I can't buy all that stuff. I graduated with $150,000 in student loans, and you're talking about technology and Pankey and Spear and Dawson. So let's start with technology. What has the return on investment?
In my opinion, the biggest ROI of any technology in the dental office is the camera. Whether it's a still camera or an intraoral camera, whatever you could afford, that is what's going to sell you dentistry. Okay, when a patient sees a quadrant or they see an arch and you can explain it to them on a big giant screen, which doesn't cost a lot of money these days, that makes your life so much easier. And that's what I do probably 10 to 20 times a day. Is go over photos. I taught my staff how to do all the photos. I don't even touch a camera myself, except for an intraoral camera when I'm in the middle of a procedure. And we talk about how we never walk in a treatment room without a photo being up on the screen. That is the number one thing that any new dentist needs to learn. Because once you do that, patients understand. That's number one. The number two technology, I would say, for me, is got to be digital scanning. I love it. It makes my life so much easier today. If you could look at your prep on a giant TV screen and see that it's right. I just finished a case 5 minutes or 10 minutes before we got on the phone of 10 veneers on somebody. I didn't even look at the screen. My dental assistant did the scanning, and she came to me and said, I don't think number 10 and 11 look right. Can you come back and check the scan? I go back and check the scan. She's 100% right. I re-prep that little area. We stitch it into the image. It looks perfect. We send it down to the lab. In 30 seconds, they call up and say, looks good, let's go. And they're off printing the model, and they'll be making the veneers probably by tomorrow. That, to me, is a great way to practice dentistry. Nobody's choking. Nobody's gagging. That scanning is just incredible. I love it. You know, the printed
And you went with the three shape from you went with the trios from 3Shape out of Copenhagen, Denmark. Help her make that decision because I mean 3M sells one, the TrueDepth scanner. Why did you go with 3Shape trios?
At the time, my dental lab recommended it. They said, we're working with all the different scanners. This one's the best. Get it. And I've never been one to say no to buying technology. At the time, I think it was $40,000. I think now they're under 30, and you can lease something like that for, keep your cash flow right for less than $1,000 a month. I mean, that to me is just a great bargain. I know you can't do Invisalign with it, okay, but you can send the image. I send my images to the dental lab, and they print it out and send that to Invisalign if that's what you really want to do. Or you can use Smart Moves, or you can do, other companies. But since most of my practice is crown and bridge and veneers and diagnostic wax ups, I use the trios. I have 3 machines now. They're all over the office. They're color. They're amazing.
Now, the 3Shape Invisalign thing, that's all tied up in court, though. So that's kind of yet to be determined, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be determined, but they stopped allowing you to send trios images, I think, back in April or May, which I think upset a lot of dentists. It seems silly that you would want, take the instruments away that allow dentists to send you cases. But I guess Invisalign must own their imaging software or their scanner that they want you to buy, the iTero.
Right.
The speed and the image quality that we get from the Trio seems a lot better to me, so I'm not switching.
So Align Technology owns Vitero, they own Invisalign. They also own, I think, 17% of Smiles Direct Club.
Yes.
What do you think about that whole issue?
So I don't know enough about it, but here's what I would say. What happens if you do orthodontics on somebody with active periodontal disease? Their teeth come out of their head. I don't know how they get past that. In other words, if some patient just goes online and says, okay, I'll get my models and I'll start doing Invisalign by myself and they have advanced gum disease, I think they're going down a really wrong road. That would be like trusting people to take their own blood pressure and get to the hospital before they have a stroke. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I kind of lean towards referring to an orthodontic specialist if it's at all confusing or difficult. I don't understand how you trust the patient to make those decisions.
You said you have a periodontist come in the office. There's one thing that I just can't get out of my mind, and that is, 1900, there's no specialist. Healthcare is 1% of GDP. A century later, it's 14% of GDP. There's 58 specialists with the MDs. There's 9 with dentists. And now I see, these dentists just trying to be everything. Like, their practice is in the dumps. So they say, okay, I'm going to go learn Invisalign. And then a year later, they say, well, I'm going to go learn how to place implants. Whereas you have a periodontist come to your office. I mean, can you be Superman and do all 9 specialties in your office? Is that the goal? Or do you think it's a better decision to narrow your focus?
I believe in narrowing your focus, and I'll tell you why. I think that all the people that say they're not busy enough, they have to learn all their specialties, are leaving out one big thing. What they're lacking is the ability to sell dentistry. Okay.
Right.
Once you have the ability to sell dentistry, then you can pick and choose what you want to do. Here's why I love the periodontist. He did my crown lengthening surgery years ago. I was never so scared in my life. Okay. It took him 20 minutes. Okay. I had no pain. I took 2 Advils. An hour after he was done, I was prepping teeth. Okay. There is no chance that I could have ever done the surgery like he did. That's all he does. That's his wheelhouse. Okay. I have 2 other dentists that are in my office with me. We all use the same periodontist. He's amazing. He's changed his practice to a point where he just goes into several general dentist offices. He doesn't even have an office anymore. Okay. He places all the implants. He's done thousands without a failure. Okay. I'm not going to be able to do that, but I could prep a tooth or I could prep 10 veneers with my eyes closed at this point. So I'm pretty sure he would not want another periodontist prepping his veneers. I don't want a general dentist doing my periodontal surgery. They might be great at it. Okay, that's not me. I would rather focus on what I do, which is prepping teeth, making temporaries, selling dentistry. That's the number one thing. Sell the dentistry, and then you can do whatever you want.
Does he bring his own dental assistant?
He does not. We trained one of our assistants to work with him. We don't really have that good of a relationship. He's only been with me 29 years.
Well, can you explain the business relationship? I mean, it's just an even 50-50 split?
Pretty much what we do is close to 50% split. We provide all the patients. He does all the surgery. We bought all the equipment. So if something ever happened and he left, we would still have it and leave it behind. There are some weeks where, he could do 5 implants, 2 crown lengthening surgeries, 2 grafts. He's out of here by 2 or 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. He makes a nice living. Our patients get a great service, and we have a nice little income tacked onto that for us. Okay, and there is nothing more convenient for a patient than they come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I prep 3 teeth on the upper right. While I'm making the temporaries, he goes in and does the crown lengthening surgery. He's in and out, probably start to finish in 40 to 45 minutes. The temporary's ready. I go back in and cement the temporary, do the bite right. Patient's done. They only had to get numb 1 time. They come back in 6 to 8 weeks when they're ready. I re-prep and we make the crowns. It's pretty nice. I'd rather go through that twice.
In my own zip code, I got one friend who, when he does big implant cases, a anesthesiologist meets the patient, he puts them under, a periodontist comes in, does all the implants, all that kind of stuff, and the whole time he's just surfing on Dental Town. And then I got another dentist who's once a month, he's in some implant course and all that kind of stuff like that. But man, you can do it profitably both ways. And it's probably a lot more higher return on asset to just have someone come in and do it and split the fee than learning all that yourself. I mean, from a business point of view.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's great when they can come while you're prepping a case. You didn't even plan to do the work. Okay. And they come in and they say, hey, you know what? This decay is a lot deeper than I thought. What do you think? I could do the crown lengthening right now. Great. Do it. And the patient gets a much better result. Nobody gets results like they do when they do regular perio with their crown and bridge or their operative or their veneer cases. I have a patient come in for, a smile design visit, and I have the periodontist come take a look and say, what do you think? Can I do cosmetic crown lengthening here and make this look better? Periodontist comes in and says, yeah, but if you don't do the osseous, it's going to look like hell in 6 months. And we both know there's a lot of dentists out there just using a laser and doing the cosmetic crown lengthening, whether the bone's in the way or not. I'd rather have a periodontist there telling me, hey, this is how we have to do it. So it also creates a fun environment. We have a great time.
So I want to focus on crown lengthening for a second. 100% of all the periodontists I've ever met said that all of their crown lengthening cases come from like 5 of their referring dentists, and the other 10, 20, 30, occasional up to 35, 40 have never sent one ever. Why is it? First of all, do you agree that 80% of all the crown lengthenings are done by about 5% of all the general dentists? And why do you think 80% of the general dentists did not do a crown lengthening procedure last year?
So I think that's a great question, and I agree with you. And I would say the answer is, once again, fear of rejection or fear of losing a patient. There's a lot of dentists who are afraid that if their patient goes to the periodontist, they're not coming back. They're going to be referred somewhere else because the periodontist may not like the prep, or maybe the periodontist is going to keep them in their recare system. There's fear of losing the patient, which is the same as fear of rejection. But if the patient trusts you and thinks that you're doing a great job, they'll do it. But you know what? Look at the cases that you've done where you did the crown lengthening, and 5 years later, what does the tissue look like? It looks as good as the day that it was done. And if you look at the patient that doesn't have the crown lengthening, and maybe it's borderline and it is a 3 or 4 millimeter pocket, and you have to shove 5 pieces of cord down there to get a reading, you're not going to be able to get a nice case. And if you try to scan somebody who needs crown lengthening surgery, you're definitely not getting the scan right. So I think the scanner makes you do better dentistry because of that. Not only faster, but better.
Yeah, and if I could sum up better dentistry or higher quality dentistry in just one word, it would only be magnification. I mean, you're a human. You go from naked eye to loupes, you're a better dentist. If you get everybody in the office with their hands in someone's mouth, add your assistants and hygienists to loupes, even better. If you're an endodontist and can go from loupes to pulling in a scope, even better. And when you scan, I'm never forget when I bought my first CEREC machine. First time I scanned one of my preps, and I saw my prep the size of a basketball. I mean, you just can't. I mean, magnification is everything.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm up to 6 mag on my loupes now because I'm 58. But I remember starting at even 2.5, and it changed my life. And that's what the scanner does. I think the first time I ever saw you lecture was in the Bronx Big Apple dental meeting. It had like be 89 or 90 or maybe 91. I don't know when you started lecturing. It had to be one of those first years you were out there. And you were talking about, the $40,000 intraoral camera that blows your tooth up to look 25 times what it was. And if you want to show a patient what's wrong with them, that's what you do. Okay. Magnification is the same concept, and so is digital scanning. If you're afraid to look at your prep on a digital scan, it's because you're probably not doing a very good job. And I also remember the first time I ever saw Frank Spear, he said something that stuck with me for the last 30 years. And he said, the reason why dentists always want to know what other dentists are using to prep their teeth and how they're doing it is because they don't know what the prep is supposed to look like. If you know what something's supposed to look like, you can do it. Okay? And that stuck with me forever because at the time, I didn't really know what the prep was supposed to look like myself. Okay? But if you get it and you understand what things are supposed to look like, then you can do it. And when you're looking at that on a digital scanner with a 1.5 foot prep in front of you, it's kind of hard to do a bad job.
Now, you're faculty at the Spear Center. How much, if some young kids listen to this right now, how much longer do you think Frank will be there before he retires to Hawaii?
That's a good question. I don't really know, but I do think that people that have been stepping in and getting really involved there are terrific. And just like anything else, he's an amazing communicator, and you can listen to the guy forever. But the reality is, it's the concepts that are the most important part of the whole process, and people that understand the concepts can teach them. And I don't think Thomas Edison isn't around to teach everybody about electricity anymore. Nobody lasts forever, unfortunately, and I think people will take that over. And there's a couple of guys I saw there recently who were tremendous lecturers. There's a guy from Mexico City, Ricardo Matrani, I think his name was, and Gary DeWood is wonderful. So I think it becomes more of the ideas than the personality after a while.
Yeah, I just don't buy into his whole retirement thing, because I just don't see it. I mean, name any of the greats and the legends who just walked away from it. I don't care if it's Hollywood. I mean, who just came out with the movie? Who's that guy? Robert Redford just came out with the movie. My mom's joke for her entire marriage is whenever someone say, "What's the secret to be married all those years?" She'd always say, "Because Robert Redford never called me." And he's in another movie. And now, obviously, I mean, I've had dinner with him, taking at Provo, Utah. To include those 2-day courses. He has dinner up at Sundance, and I think I would have been up there a dozen times, and he's walked in twice. And I just everybody who retires after about a year of watching The Wheel of Fortune and Oprah, they realize it's not all that it's cracked up to be. You really think he can walk away from that and just go watch Wheel of Fortune and fish?
No. Are you a fan of Billy Joel?
Yes.
Okay, so he has
anybody who marries Christy Brinkley.
You're right.
is my friend.
So he has an in-residence concert performance at Madison Square Garden once a month. This has been going on for at least 5 years. And I saw him interviewed, and he said, "I told the Garden that when we stop selling out, I'll stop doing it." He makes over $1 million a month, one show a month. It sells out every month, and the next month they go, "Okay, if we don't sell out, we won't do it," and it sells out again. And they just keep going and going and going. And the more they do it, the more people want to see it. And I agree with you. How do you stay retired? Have you ever heard of Byte FX?
Byte FX?
Byte FX. F as in Frank, X as in X-ray. It's a company that makes a software that is all related to occlusion. And you can use it to demonstrate all kinds of occlusal information to patients. It's a great company. And
where are they out of?
It was on the iPad. So I'm a member. I pay a monthly subscription to be part of them. They're great. And I can show patients things about TMJ, and I can show them what anterior guidance is, and I can show them. It's an educational tool. They're having Pete Dawson on this week, interviewing him on a webinar. And now, how old is he?
He's got to be 80.
He's got to be more than 80. Okay. And I think that's great. And he's still sane, and he's still talking dentistry. Why can't Frank do it? He's got 20 years on him. Right.
You said magnification. We both agree. You can just see it's better. So I already looked at that right now. That's you use that on an iPad?
I use it on all of. I have large screens in the operatory, and it's on the same computer as my Dentrix and my Dexis, and we could just go in each room. We have a license for each room, and we can demo it on the same TV screen. But I have it on an iPad in my waiting room. It's pretty cool.
Well, they're going to love you, because I just found them on Twitter at ByteFX, and Byte, of course, is BITE FX. Yeah. They have 15 followers, and I just retweeted their tweet to my 25,000 Twitter followers. Thanks for following me at Howard Farran. Hey, I want to, we were talking about perio and crown lengthening. I want to go back to perio, because a lot of these kids that come out of school, they're very confused. They go back and they work with their hero. You know, their mom's a dentist, their dad's a dentist,
Yeah.
and they say things like, well, you know, the best way to treat perio is with forceps. You know, show that root some sunshine. Let's get some titanium there, and you don't have to deal with it. And then these kids are telling me that their parents' implants, you know, that whether they did or a periodontist oral surgeon, but you know, 5 years later, you know, 20% of them have periimplantitis, and you know, so I think when you and I got out of school, periodontist was a huge profession, and then it's kind of got wandering and lost with people saying, well, I'm not going to do perio surgery on a molar when I'll just extract and do an implant. But now that we've been doing this implant thing for a couple of decades, there's a lot of periimplantitis. So how do you, they have questions, how do you rationalize, I'm going to do a periodontal surgery on this molar versus I'm going to extract it and treat it with titanium?
So how long have dental implants been placed in the United States? I think it was about, what, 1989 or 1987, something like that. They've been around for about 30 years, I would say. So 30 years is great, but we don't know what happens at 40 and 50. And if it's my mouth, and I think I learned this from Pete Dawson. He taught something called Widium, Widiom. Would I do it on me?
Nice.
I've always loved that. And you know what? What would you rather have? Crown lengthening and 3 new crowns, and you brush and floss it and keep it healthy for the rest of your life? Or just take them out, put bone grafts in, hope the bone grafts work, hope I don't blow out my sinus with a hole, and get 3 implants, and maybe I have periimplantitis and maybe I don't. Personally, I want my teeth. They have nerves around them that let you have a tactile sensation. And you know, let's be honest, an implant is a compromise. It's great that we have them. You know, when I first started practicing and you first started practicing, the distal extension partial denture was something that kept me up at night. And luckily today you have an option that you don't have to have it. But there's a guy who I've followed on your forum for years, on Dan Melker out of
Absolutely.
out of Clearwater, Florida, and he carries the baton for perio and, you know, treating things the right way so you can maintain teeth. And I think, like anything else, it gets lost in the shuffle. You know, now all of a sudden, half the dentists in New York City are sleep dentists, and they were the same guys that were cosmetic dentists, and they were the same guys that were implant dentists. You can't focus on one field like that and expect, you know, to do right by patients. And it always goes back to Widium. Do I want that? Okay, are you going to do veneers on a 16-year-old who has beautiful teeth and just needs a little whitening, or maybe just a little crown lengthening? Is it about the money, or is it about the patient? Would you do it on me? Okay, and I'm not giving up my teeth for implants if I don't have to.
Why don't you make a meme? Put your face in there. Dr. Roth says, Widium, would I do it on me? That's a perfect
great.
meme.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah, make the meme. Email it to me, howard@dentaltown.com, and I'll make sure 500,000 people see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that is just everything. And also I can say that, you know, just whenever you're a little more conservative, I mean, first do no harm. I mean, I'd rather try every single last thing to save my tooth, even if it's to redo the root canal. I don't care if I need an apicoectomy. I you know, whatever. I just want to save the natural body parts. I think most of the market's like that too.
Absolutely. And you know what? We have a periodontist, and somebody asked me the other day, how many times have you done a full mouth implant case? And I'm like, if I do 1 arch in a year, that's a full arch. That's a lot. And we have a pretty advanced adult practice. And the reality is, if you're in an area where people actually take care of themselves, that doesn't come up that much. You know, the whatever you call that company that does the all on 4. Okay. I don't see that very often, because most of my patients are healthy because they're on 3-month recare instead of 6-month recare. And we have a periodontist who treats the perio as it comes up, so they don't lose all their teeth at the same time. Okay. Most of the implants I'm doing is because an endo failed for the 3rd time, or the cone scan, you know, picked up a fracture, or the cone scan, you know, told you that the bone is just, you know, there's a post, you know, perforation. Those are the kinds of implants we do. It's usually single units, or sometimes 2 or 3 units where they lost, you know, one side of an arch. But I would guess that's probably 90% of the implants done in the United States, or the 1 and 2 here and there. And, I don't like the idea of pulling out teeth for no reason. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's very bizarre when you go to these dental conventions because the people that get all the lecture space are the all on fours, but the guys that's doing all on nuns, they don't get any, no one wants to go to the lecture on all on none, but for every all on four case in America for 50 grand, how many dentures are done at $1,000 an arch? I mean, what is it? 100? What would you think? 100 to 1? I mean, this country has 324 million people. Your choice only did 18,000 arches last year. I mean, 18,000 isn't even a rounding error. In fact, I could prove to you that the United States government couldn't even tell you the exact population plus or minus 18,000.
Right.
I mean, when I was in China, I was having breakfast with the president of the Chinese Dental Association, and I said, well, how many dentists are there? And he goes, you don't understand China and India. He said, when we tell you we have 1,300,000,000 people, that's plus or minus 100 million. He goes, how same thing with India. Both of those population estimates are plus or minus 100 million people, and he says there would be no way to know how many dentists are in China.
Yeah.
He said there would just be no way. He estimated it was the same number as the United States general dentists at 150,000, which shows you if they have 5 times as many people and the same number of dentists, it shows you that diet has to be a huge factor in this whole dental decay business. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I see a lot of kids who just moved to New York City and they're out of college having their first job. And I find the toughest patient to deal with is the patient that comes in. They've been seeing their family dentist in Kansas or wherever. They move to New York City. They come in. We take out all the technology. We do DEXIS. We do photos. We do everything. And we find, oh, my God, this kid has, 15 interproximal lesions. What the heck is going on? And what always happens with the patient? They call their parents. They tell their parents, and they go, oh, that New York City dentist is trying to rip you off the paper's rent. Come back home and let, Dr. Kevorkian, our local dentist, fix you up. How come Dr. Kevorkian didn't know you had the decay in the first place? So, yeah, I think it's still a problem. What happens when you're in college? I have a kid in college now in Wisconsin. They have sports drinks, they have sodas, they have vodka, they have, they smoke weed and go out on the town and eat and don't floss their teeth. And what happens at the end of college? They have decay everywhere. Okay. It isn't from a virus. It's from their dietary habits and their lack of oral hygiene.
Right. When you look at, I think there's only 25 million homes in the United States that are paid off. The rest all have a 30-year mortgage. When you look at cars, all the data I see, only 10% of cars are bought in cash, 90% are financed. And the dentist still goes in there and say, okay, to do this, everything we talked about today will be $2,500. Can I have your credit card? Or it'll be $4,950. Can I have your credit card? You are involved with Bridge Financial Solutions, Green Sky Patient Financing. Talk about that. Talk about the importance. The people that I see selling all the cases, they don't go in there and say, oh yeah, that all on four is $25,000 an arch. I need $50,000, preferably in unmarked bills. They go in there and they say this will be $360 a month for 60 months. They're always using installment credit.
Yeah.
So talk about Bridge Financial Solutions, Green Sky Patient Financing,
okay.
And could you do your big cases without that?
Okay. So the first time I ever saw you lecture, I'll never forget, you said, you go in the airport and the lady that's mopping the floor is on a cell phone. And the cell phone is on her shoulder and she's talking while she's mopping. And the minimum cell phone bill at the time had to be $50 or $100. And you said, somebody could afford $50 to $100 a month for their cell phone. They could afford $50 to $100 to finance their dentistry. Okay. And I got sick and tired of certain companies doing what I felt was dishonest things to my patients when it came to financing. So for the last 5 years, I have been trying to build a patient finance company that had much better terms, that lets you borrow a lot more money than the usual suspects, I have cases in my office that are 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. And how many people can write a check for that? Not that many. It happens once in a blue moon. The Oscar winner might be able to do it, but the reality is most people cannot do it. And if it's better to treat the full arch and open the bite than it is to do a crown a year, I'm going to recommend that. And we got together with Green Sky, who's now a public company. I think they have a $4 billion market cap. And said, okay, you know, this is how the kind of dentistry that I do. I know you're really new in dentistry. Let us help you build this platform for dentists. And what I got from them, and I can give you the exact terms, and I'll show you where you can find out how to sign up. It's free.
It's called Green Sky or Bridge Financial?
Green Sky Financial is the parent company.
Okay.
And Bridge Solutions is basically my partner and I getting together and working with Green Sky to make their product even better. Green Sky does everything. They do medicine, they do construction, you know, they do autos, they do everything. But we are trying to perfect it specifically for dentists. And I'll give you a story of what I did with one of their loans this week, and I use them. I'm working on this because this is what I do in my office. I had a patient come to me last week who owed me $28,000. Been paying me $500 to $1,000 a month for the last God knows how many years. The patient now needs $20,000 more dental work. I was able to have the patient apply for a loan, pay off what they owed me, the $28,000, and get the additional $20,000. So they now had a $48,000 loan. They're getting 7 years to pay it off. The interest rate is under 10%. I don't remember the exact number. The application and the approval was done in less than 10 minutes on an iPad. Okay. That patient is now going to have a healthy mouth. They're not owing me money. There's no bad feelings. Okay. And it's a soft application. So if they decided not to do it, it doesn't go against their credit. The application does not go on their credit report. So we basically said we need more money, better terms. So you could get 2 years interest free on the loan. So there are patients who could actually afford to maybe write the check. We'll say, you know what, I could use the extra money right now. No interest, I'm in. The more dentists we get, the better terms we're getting. So it's actually a lot of fun, but I am doing 2 to 3 loans a week myself. Okay, and I actually have a dentist that I'm friends with who's out on Long Island, which you've probably heard of, who literally does over $200,000 a month in loans for patients. And if that can't change your practice, I don't know what else can. And once again, you still got to sell the dentistry, but it's a lot easier to sell it when you have a tool like this.
So who's John? Is that your friend John Russo?
No, my friend is a guy by the name of Darren Anderson.
Because I was on that Bridge that website.
Yeah, so go onto the Green Sky website. The Bridge is part of Green Sky, not to confuse the issue.
So you don't want him to go to bridgefinancial.org? Is that you?
No. Go to Green Sky.
But is Bridge Financial Solutions you?
No, Bridge. The one that you're looking at right now is not.
Oh, okay.
We are still in part of Green Sky. The reason we took the Bridge name is so we can delineate ourselves from their other businesses.
So that is greensky.com. Did you name it that because it's green is Irish?
I know you're Irish, and I know you have a green screen behind you, but no.
And what we're talking about, I mean, what is the Irish lesson from the Irish diaspora? What is the greatest sewing machine? If you ask any American, what's the greatest sewing machine, what would they say?
Singer?
Yeah, and Singer wasn't that good of a sewing machine. There was like 20 different sewing machine companies, and everybody wanted $50, and they wanted $50 now. And it was, gosh darn, Mr. Singer, who came over from London, knowing these guys could only get textile jobs if they had a sewing machine, and none of them had $50. They only had the shirt off their back. So he said, come here, Irish boys, I'll give you a $50 sewing machine, but when you get paid your $3 on Friday, you come back and give me one of those dollars, and after a year, you'll own it. Well, everyone else went under. It was the same thing with Ford and General Motors. I mean, Henry Ford wanted all of his money down, And then General Motors came along and offered GMAC financing, and that's why they shut down the Model T assembly line after 10 million cars, because Henry insisted of getting his money up front. And if you want to be a great dentist that serves kings and queens, that's not really what America's about. I mean, what America's about is the middle class, and installment credit is everything. So if they go to Green Sky, I can't believe I'm going to retweet Green Sky when they're not even following me. My gosh, but I'm gonna do it anyway though. So it's at Green Sky Pay, at Green Sky Pay.
Let me give you the actual here. Go to this. Go greensky.com. Okay. /sponsor. SPONSOR /bridge. BRIDGE.
Okay, say it again. Greensky.com /what?
/sponsor. SPONSOR.
My sausage fingers make a lot of typos. /sponsor.
Yeah.
Then
/bridge. And that's the
BRIDGE.
That's the link that will take you to sign up. And
nice.
Okay, and if all townies want to go there, okay, we are going to get them a special deal. Okay, and that's the way to do it. And it says credit limits as high as $55,000. It's gone up to $65,000. In my office, if you do a full mouth reconstruction with core buildups, perio surgery, et cetera, it's close to $100,000. Okay, that's New York City prices. I'm not saying that everybody should go out and do that. What I am saying is, if you want to do great work and pay a great lab and have a periodontist do great, beautiful work, it's going to cost a lot of money, and getting it financed is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the only way to go. I mean, for every person that can just pay in cash, how many are there that just need a payment? And that's how they sell the average American 13 cars in their lifetime. Yeah. And I don't even know why you'd want to be General Motors making cars. If GMAC has made $3 of net income for every dollar, the book that I love the most on that, it's called The Profit Zone, and it went through every industry, and it just added up the net income dollars. And you take like automotive, and all the car companies that made all the cars, they didn't even make 10% of the profit. Hell, GMAC financing was like, the financing the car was like 30%. And then number two was insuring the car, like Progressive and State Farm. Those guys were like another 30%. And what was just mind-blowing, until I started telling dealers that this couldn't be true, was that car parts and car maintenance was more profit dollars than selling the damn car. And every person I know in the valley here that owns a car lot says, oh man, I make 80% of my money on the maintenance and the all that, not selling the car. He goes, you pretty much hardly make a dime. It's just like every restaurant I go to. They just want alcoholics to eat there. They make 80% of their money on the wine, and that's why they bring out a wine menu. They don't make any money off lasagna and breadsticks and stuff. There's so much labor and cost and materials, 30% food cost. They just want to pour you a drink for $10 and just nothing but net. So the finance.
You know what we'll do sometimes? If a patient is going to do 10 veneers, and the cost is, I don't know, somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000, let's say. We'll add in the first 4 hygiene visits. So to get them on a great maintenance schedule and make that part of the application for the loan. So they get their veneers, and the first 4 hygienes, it basically guarantees that they come back and you can do follow-up on their cases, and they become great patients. And maybe it's costing them $500 a month with a great loan. So this is, I couldn't practice without it. I really couldn't. And I know you say this a lot. Why are some dentists doing big cases and some dentists are not? Yes, part of it is sales. Part of it is patients liking you. Part of it, and you talk about this all the time, is being passionate and having fun, and patients picking up on that. Okay? If the patient's not under stress about the money, it's a lot easier to get them to do it. Okay? And you're doing it for their own good. And that's what sales is. It's making people happy with the decisions they make. And that's why I love doing this. And you know what? Like you always say, I'd rather play golf and, you'd rather do dentistry than play golf. Yeah. Sometimes I'd rather play golf. However, okay, there isn't a day that I don't come in the office where I don't say to myself, who am I going to get to do a complete case of dentistry today? That is the first thing I think about every single day. We have a morning huddle. We go through the hygiene schedule and I say, you know what? Mrs. Smith would really benefit from having her mouth redone. She'll look great. She'll have teeth when she's retired. She won't have to worry about all these problems. Let's talk to her about it. And what we'll do is say, Mrs. Smith, do you mind staying an extra 15 minutes to get a bunch of photos done and some digital scans of your mouth? And she'll say, sure, we'll do it. Come back. I won't charge you. We'll sit and we'll talk about what we can do for you. And then it's only a matter of time till I bring up the patient financing or doing the case the right way. And that's how you build a big practice. Become your patient's friends and present them what's there. Can't do it if you don't present it.
Okay, I know my homies, and I want to make one thing clear. I called you several times to come on this podcast. I think I've been calling you for about 3 years to come on the show. This is not a commercial. I don't get any money from anyone. No one's ever given me money to come on my show. But I still want to go back to Blue Sky. It's greensky.com. Because I know my homies, and I know what they're already yelling as they're driving to work, commuting. They're saying, dude, he doesn't get it. I'm in Cleveland, and I've had these patient financing, and no one gets approved. What would you say to the guy who's saying, I'm tired of spending all this time running an application and all I get is denials because, I'm out in the middle of Indiana. I'm in Hoosierville.
That's a great question. And here's what I would say. Sign up. It takes 10 minutes to sign up and try it. If it doesn't work on your patients, you wasted 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We're getting approvals that the other big companies are not giving on a regular basis. Okay. Sure, if somebody has a 200 credit rating and they're, on the FBI's most wanted list, there's a pretty good chance they won't get approved. However, most people will.
You remind me of one of my heroes, was Bob Ibsen, who was an optician. He was out in Southern Cal. Everybody wanted these tooth-colored fillings. He wrote a book on adhesive dentistry. People don't realize there would have never been cosmetic dentistry until they had the technology of adhesion. And it was the technology of adhesion that spun off all this cosmetic stuff. And he realized, like you, that toothpaste for the average tooth was dulling his composite. So he came out with Rembrandt, a harder toothpaste for polishing. And you've done the same thing on the other coast. He was Pacific, you're Atlantic, with Mint Smile. Mint Smile. Talk about your journey with Mint Smile and what made you spend your time on that.
Okay. So there is a wonderful dental hygienist named Lisa Marie Kayal. It was her idea. And I'm just showing you what a bottle looks like right there. Okay. And I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, as she was doing her hygiene in a nice New York City practice.
Move it to the side. Yeah. So see, that's where I'm looking. Look at the toothpaste. Look at the toothpaste. That's where I'm seeing you.
Yeah.
You're looking at the other monitor. So it's upside down. So turn it around.
Turn it around. There you go.
There you go. Mint Smile.
Mint Smile. You can go to mintsmile.com. It's spelled
MYNT.
Yeah.
MYNT. Smile. Toothpaste.
.com. But it's just mintsmile.com, not mintsmiletoothpaste.com.
Mintsmile.com. Mint, MYNT, smile.com.
Yeah. Okay. So Lisa came up with the idea. She had it invented. I take no credit for inventing this toothpaste. It's all her. But she came to me a couple of years ago and said, sales are kind of slow. Things aren't going great. I could use a little help. So I said, this looks like a fun project, and I think this lady's passion is in the right place. Let's try to help her do this. So I got involved with this product, and I love it. I recommend it to all my patients. They go on the website, and they sign up and get subscription orders. And the research shows that it's the only product that polishes porcelain and composite available on the market today. It actually got a patent about 6 months ago as the only product that can do this. The US.
Wow.
And the reality is it doesn't scratch your veneers. It actually makes them look better. It polishes them up. It's got a very low abrasiveness to it, similar or even better than Sensodyne. And if you look at what goes on with toothpaste these days, Sensodyne is one of the top-selling toothpaste in the United States. Why do you think that is?
Well, it was block drug, and then they sold it to GlaxoSmithKline. But why is it ask the question again?
Why do you think it's one of the top-selling toothpaste in the United States?
Because people have so much sensitive teeth.
Right. Well, what do they not want to do? Go to the dentist. They want to avoid the dentist. The reality is a lot of the garden variety popular toothpaste are very abrasive, and nobody really knows 100% what causes all recession. But certainly having a highly abrasive toothpaste isn't helping when it comes to sensitive teeth, because it's taking off the really thin enamel at the CEJ. This toothpaste not only does it polish your porcelain and your composite, but it actually is great for sensitive teeth as well, because it has such a low abrasiveness. And it does not contribute to abfractions and recession. It actually is as gentle as can be. And that's why I love the product, because much of what I do is crown and bridge and veneers and dental implants. They all have porcelain and emax and zirconia, and they need a product that will polish them. So I just thought it was a great idea. And I'm just trying to help her move this product along. We actually just started working with the American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry.
You know how I know that? Because the reason I retweet, so they're on Twitter, she's at MintSmile, MYNT smile.com, or not at MintSmile, is because they're commuting, so they're not taking notes. So what I do is when I'm podcasting, I forward their tweets, and I just retweeted, excellent article on tooth whitening, AACD.com. So I just retweeted that article that AACD was talking about, but you continue.
So what we decided to do, because we love the cause of Give Back a Smile, which is AACD's big charity.
Okay, I'll retweet that one too. You got 2 retweets.
Yeah.
About Give Back a Smile.
We are donating a portion of the sales of MintSmile for a year to Give Back a Smile, because we think it's such a great charity and they're helping us promote the product.
Nice.
We hope to continue that relationship for a long time. And, I just think it's great when somebody who's an active, wet-fingered dentist or dental hygienist, as they say, which means that they just actively practice. I still practice full-time. I think it's great when people come up with inventions and products that's based on what they do every day, and it's based on helping patients' lives get better. And this is one of those products. Okay, and guess what? If you want to do more cosmetic dentistry, getting your patient on a product like this actually gets them looking at their teeth more and wanting more cosmetic dentistry. So we have plenty of spouses and partners and family members who use MintSmile because somebody in their family had some cosmetic dentistry, and guess what? They love the product. It tastes great. So I am trying to help her with this product because I believe in it, and I put every single patient I have who gets any kind of dentistry on it, because I think it does a better job.
Well, I just went on my Dentaltown app. I still can't believe that there's 250,000 dentists and hygienists on Dentaltown, and 60,000 of them download the app, and the app keeps getting downloaded over 1,000 times a month. I just did a search for MintSmile. There's a thread on it. I just forwarded it to you, and hopefully you guys can both post on there. And if you're shy, because you don't want to feel spammy, just say that you just did a podcast with Howard, and he told you to come on here and talk more about it.
Awesome.
Will you do that?
100%.
100%. I can't believe we already blew through an hour. I could talk to you for 40 days, 40 nights. I just got to tell you my New York City story. So my first lecture was August. I forgot the date. August of 1990. And I was born and raised in Wichita, Kansas. Tallest things at Grain Silo. I went to Creighton at Omaha, the same, can't say. And so here I am in a window seat, and I'm flying along, and we're descending, and I'm just looking out the window, and it was the first time I ever saw New York City. It looked like the Grand Canyon in burst. And I remember just gasping, and I was scared to go by myself. So I asked my classmate and best friend, Craig Steichen from dental school, who's in Albuquerque, to go with me. And he was looking after me. He was from Albuquerque. And we were just like, what? And we were at this is how hillbilly dumb we were. We go to the airport, we get in the cab, and he says, where are you going? I said, to Sheridan. And he goes, well, which one? And that was the first time it dawned on me there was more than one Sheridan. He goes, dude, there's like 60 in Manhattan. So we had to run back in the airport, wait in line at a payphone, call my crew back in Phoenix, ask them, is there an address on that Sheridan? But anyway, so we go to the Sheridan, we unload our stuff, and we ran downstairs to go explore it. And the next thing you know, I mean, we probably landed by like 6 o'clock or something. Next thing you know, Steichen looks at me and goes, dude, it's 3:30 in the morning, and you lecture. And we had lost all concept of time, and I still think Manhattan is the coolest damn city on the planet. So good at you. I know you're a busy man. Thank you so much for giving me and my townies an hour of your time and coming on the show. I really, really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a rocking hot day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity. I think that people like you make dentistry a lot more fun. You've probably changed an entire generation of dentists, not just with Dental Town, but with your lectures. I still remember going with my staff members, and we were laughing so hard, our facial muscles were killing us. We had a great time coming to see you, and I hope we can all come see you again soon.
All right. Well, on that note, have a rocking hot day, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot.